Hello everyone, welcome back. In our today's video, we are going to be continuing with the chapter Nutrition and Health, and the topic that we are going to be dealing today is food hygiene. Under that, we are going to be discussing about food spoilage and food preservation. So now let's take a look at food spoilage first. Food spoilage is an undesirable change in the normal state of food and it is not suitable for human consumption. Signs of food spoilage include changes in appearance, color, texture, odor and taste of the food. Now let's take a look at the factors which are responsible for food spoilage. The factors which are responsible for food spoilage are internal factors and external factors. Internal factors include enzymatic activities and moisture content of food. Moisture content, if it is present in the food, will provide an environment for the growth of microorganisms. The next factor is external factor. External factor includes adulterants in food, contaminated utensils and equipments, unhygienic cooking area and lack of storage facilities. It is very important for us to understand about food spoilage because if a person consumes the food which is spoiled, it is going to have a drastic effect on the human health. Now let's take a look at the effects of consuming spoiled food. Consumption of spoiled food can lead to diarrhea, vomiting, loss of appetite, mild fever, weakness, nausea and headache. So what can be done in order to prevent the food from getting spoiled? The only way by which the food spoilage can be prevented is to preserve the food. So food preservation is the process of prevention of food from decay or spoilage by storing in a condition fit for future use. Food is preserved for the following reasons. It increases the shelf life of the food. It retains the color, texture, flavor and nutritive value of the food. And food preservation also helps to increase the food supply and decrease the wastage of food. Before understanding the different methods of food preservation, it is important for us to understand about how the food is classified based on its perishability or shelf life. Shelf life is how long a food can be kept without doing any processing or without treating it with any preservative. So based on the perishability, the food is classified into three as perishable foods, non-perishable foods and semi-perishable foods. Food products which get spoiled easily within 1 or 2 days will come under the perishable foods. So perishable foods include eggs, poultry, meat, fish, fruits and dairy products. Non-perishable foods are foods that do not get spoiled that easily. And non-perishable foods include whole grains, nuts and sugar. Semi-perishable foods include the foods that can be stored for few weeks or even few months. So semi-perishable foods include cereals and pulses. Now let's take a look at the different methods of food preservation. There are different methods which are used for food preservation. Now let's take a look at it one by one. The first method is drying. Drying is the process of food preservation where the water content or the moisture content of the food is completely removed. So I told you already that moisture content in the food is going to provide an environment for the growth of microorganisms. So by drying the food, we are going to make sure that there is no growth of microorganisms, thereby preventing the food from getting spoiled. There are two methods of drying. One is sun drying and the other one is vacuum drying. So drying basically inhibits the growth of microorganisms such as bacteria, yeast and molds. The next method of food preservation is smoking. In the process of smoking, food products like meat and fish are exposed to smoke. The drying action of smoke tends to preserve the food. Ultimately, here also what we are going to be doing is by exposing the meat onto smoke, the moisture content is going to get removed. The next method is irradiation. Irradiation is the process of exposing food to optimum level of ionizing radiation. So ionizing radiations like X-ray, gamma rays, UV rays are used to kill the harmful microorganisms which are present in the food. The next method is cold storage. This is one of the most common methods of food preservation. So it is the process of storing the food such as vegetables, fruits and fruit products at a very low temperature. And preserving the food products at a low temperature slows down the biological and chemical reactions and prevents the food from getting spoiled. The next method of food preservation is freezing. Freezing is also one of the most widely used methods for food preservation. So this process involves storing the food below 0 degrees Celsius. So by doing this, the growth of microorganisms in the food is going to be completely prevented and delayed. The next method of food preservation is pasteurization. This method of food preservation was developed by Louis Pasteur, and pasteurization is the process of heat treatment of liquid food products. Milk is preserved using pasteurization. So in this process, the milk is boiled to a temperature of 63 degrees Celsius for about 30 minutes and suddenly cooled in order to destroy the microbes which are present in the milk. The next method of food preservation is canning. In this method, the foods are processed and stored in clean, steamed, airtight containers so that the food does not get spoiled. Many vegetables, fruits, meat, dairy products are processed using canning. Now let's go on to discuss about how food can be preserved using preservatives. So addition of preservatives can also prevent food spoilage. There are two types of preservatives. One is the natural preservatives and the other one is the artificial preservatives. Now first let's take a look at the natural preservatives. Natural preservatives are salt, sugar and oil. Now let's see what happens when salt is used as a preservative. Addition of salt is one of the oldest method of preserving food. And addition of salt removes the moisture content which is present in the food. And the main reason why we are doing this is because, again as I told you, moisture content, if it is there in the food, it is going to help in the growth of microorganisms. So adding salt to the food will remove the moisture content, thereby preserving the food from microbial growth. So addition of salt prevents the growth of bacteria and reduces the activity of microbial enzymes. Foods like fish, meat, gooseberry, lemon and raw mangoes are preserved by salting. Salt is also used as a preservative in pickles and canned food. The next natural preservative is sugar. The hygroscopic nature of sugar helps to reduce the water content of the food. And food products like jams, jellies, squashes can all be preserved by using the addition of sugar. The next natural preservative is addition of oil. So addition of oil in pickles prevent the contact of air with food. Air contains a lot of microorganisms, and when our food is exposed to air, there are a lot of possibilities for microorganisms to settle on the food. So in order to prevent this, oil is added. So when oil is added, the contact of air with food is prevented, thereby ensuring that the food is not spoiled with microorganisms. Now we have discussed about the natural preservatives so far. Now let's go on to discuss about the synthetic preservatives. Synthetic preservatives are artificial preservatives which are used in order to preserve the food. So some of the synthetic preservatives which are widely used are sodium benzoate, vinegar, sodium metabisulfate and potassium bisulfate. These synthetic preservatives are added to food products like sauce, jams, jellies, packed foods and ready-to-eat foods. These synthetic preservatives delay the microbial growth and also keep the food safe for a longer duration. So I hope you understood the topic food preservation. If you have any doubts, you can leave that in the comment section below. Thank you.